What's up, guys? It's gonna be the start of my new YouTube channel. Hope you like it. Give me some feedback on what I can improve or what I need to work on. So, just trying to do my best with what I can do. So, today I'm making a video on how to determine slope and other key features of linear functions. So, starting with the first problem, I'm gonna go ahead and circle the word graph. See, determine the slope. So now that I know I need to find the slope using the formula, I'm going to identify at least 2 points. So I'm going to find a point right there, and that point is -4, -5. This is 0, -2. This is 4, 1. This point here is 8, 4. So you can use any of those points. There's another one right here also, but it doesn't matter. You just need 2. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick my 2. I'm gonna switch colors. So I'm gonna pick -4, -5, and also 8, 4. I'm gonna label these points x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. This point came first because I'm reading the graph from left to right, and this point came second, so that's why this one is y sub 2. I'm gonna go ahead and substitute my points into my formula. So 4 minus -5 divided by 8 minus -4. Then you can put this in your calculator, or you could do it by hand. 4 minus -5, that turns into a plus, because when you subtract a negative, you're adding. This gives you 9. And again, double negative, so minus a negative turns into a plus. This gives you 12. 9 over 12 simplifies to 3/4. And so now we have found our slope using the slope formula. Another method is on the next slide. You can also find the slope by making a table. You gotta find your points first. Here's your points. I'm gonna go ahead and label them again. Make a table. So my first point was -4, -5. My next point is 0, -2. My next point is 4, 1. Now, you could think of it in terms of 2 ways. One, how many units does it change on the x side? So from -4 to 0, I could tell that this went up 4 units. On the y side, I could tell that this went up 3 units. Now, if you can't tell from the top of your head or just by looking at it, what you can do is come off to the side and do the work. You will have to label them again. So this is x1, x sub 2, y sub 1, y sub 2, and use the formula. So -2 minus -5 divided by 0 minus -4, which turns into double negatives again. So that is -2 plus 5 gives you 3. 0 plus 4 gives you 3/4. Now, go ahead and set this up just as a reminder. Delta y divided by delta x. So that gives you 3/4. And I'm just going to go back and label them. So one of the other ways you can find slope is actually using the line or the graph. Again, label your points, as many as possible, or at least 2. From here, you're going to calculate your rise over run. Basically, you're changing y divided by changing x. So from here to here, if I draw a right triangle connecting both dots, on this vertical leg, how much did it change on the y? So that goes 1, 2, 3 units. So my change in y is 3. Horizontally, it goes over 1, 2, 3, 4. So my change in x is equal to 4. Now again, you could do a bottom right triangle if you want, but as long as you're constructing a right triangle. So from here, still went over 4 units horizontally, and then 3 units vertically. So my change in y divided by change in x is equal to 3 over 4. Now pick whichever way you want to find the slope. Get good at all of them since you have the time. Now let's move on to the next slide. Alright, so now we got to identify the y-intercept. First, label your axis. This is the x-axis, this is the y-axis. Now, the y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. So, looking at the y and looking at the red line, they intersect at this point right here. That means my y-intercept happens to be 0, -2, because my x is 0 and my y is -2. Now that we have our y-intercept, we go ahead and write our equation. Remember, y equals m times x plus b, where m is the slope, b is the y-intercept. So y equals 3 over 4 x minus 2. So now we gotta find the x-intercept. And again, trust your instinct. The x-intercept is where the line crosses the x-axis. So again, label your axis. That's my x. This is my y. These two lines intersect about right there. Now we could approximate that to be between 2 and 3, about a little bit halfway. So I say that's about 2.5, 0. Now that's an approximation. I would like to know the exact number. So I'm going to use my equation that I found in the previous slide. Y equals 3 over 4 x minus 2. So I know for sure that my y is 0 if you go back. So we know that this number for sure is always going to be 0 for my x-intercept. So I could go back and substitute 0 here. And then I could solve to get my x-intercept. So I'm going to do my additive inverse, plus 2 plus 2. This gives me a 0 pair. 0 plus 2 gives me 2, equals 3 over 4 x. Now I'm going to divide by the coefficient, which is 3 over 4. So 3 over 4 divided by 3 over 4 gives me 1. And I'm going to divide this by 3 over 4, which gives me 2.66. Or in other words, it gives me 8 over 3 is equal to x. So our approximation was pretty close. So our exact x-intercept happens to be 2.66, 0. So at this point, I want y'all to go ahead and give a shot at this particular problem. First, find the slope. I'm going to be giving you hints as you work it out. At the end of this next slide, I will work it out myself so you can compare your work. So go ahead and identify 2 points, which is your first step. Identify 2 points. Once you identify 2 points, determine the slope using whatever method you like. And make sure to simplify. So, the way I would have found the slope, I will go ahead and find 2 points. I'll use my y-intercept there. See another point right here, and I see another point right here. So these points are -2, 6, 0, 1, and 2, -4. Now I put 3, I only need 2. I'm gonna go ahead and make a table. So from -2 to 0, that went up 2 units. From 6 to 1, that went down 5 units. Change in y divided by change in x gives me -5/2. That's already simplified. For those of y'all who use the slope formula, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to label x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. And I'm going to do 1 minus 6 divided by 0 minus -2. 1 minus 6 gives me -5. 0 minus -2. When you subtract a negative, you're adding the numbers. So 0 plus 2 gives me 2. So my slope is -5/2. Go ahead and identify your y-intercept. So the y-intercept happens to be here. We identified it in the previous slide, which is 0, 1. So I could go ahead and write my equation. Y equals m times x plus b. M is your slope. B is the y-intercept. That's bad. Can't barely read that. That's slightly better. So y equals -5/2 x plus 1, or you could write it as f of x equals -5/2 x plus 1. Your call. Now again, go ahead and take a second. Find the x-intercept this time. I labeled my axis. Now, what do you approximate the x-intercept to be? So I noticed that it's in between 0 and 1, so I approximate that to be about 0.4, 0. Now for sure, I'm going to find out y equals -5/2 x plus 1. Since I know my y is always going to be 0, I'm going to substitute that. 0 is equal to -5/2 x plus 1. I'm going to do the additive inverse, minus 1. That gives me a 0 pair here. When I do the one side, I got to do over here as well. So 0 minus 1 gives me negative 1 is equal to negative 5 over 2x. Now you will divide by the coefficient, negative 5 over 2. Divide this by negative 5 over 2, which gives me 0.4. So we actually had a really good approximation. So the x-intercept is 0.4 comma 0. Go ahead and hit pause, and I want you to find the slope, the y-intercept, write your equation, and also your x-intercept. Go ahead and hit pause. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do to find the slope, I'm going to identify a few points. This time I'm going to use slope triangles. So notice that the line is decreasing. So my change on the vertical leg, so my change in y is negative 3. My horizontal change is 1, so my change in x is 1. I'm going to skip this point, and I'm going to draw my triangle all the way down here to connect with this point. The reason I could do that is because these two triangles are proportional. So this time, this leg went down 6, so my change in y is negative 6. And my horizontal change, or my change in x, is 2. I'll write my slope, which is change in y divided by change in x, which gives me negative 6 over 2, which is equal to negative 3 over 1, which also simplifies to negative 3. So my slope is negative 3. I'm going to go ahead and do my y-intercept, which is right here. In case you forgot, you could label your axis. So this point is 0, comma, negative 1. So that means my b is negative 1. So I'm going to write my equation as y equals negative 3x minus 1. Or you could write it as f of x equals negative 3x minus 1. Alright, now I gotta find my x-intercept, so I'm gonna label my axis again. That's my x-axis, that's my y-axis. So, trying to find my x-intercept, I know it's about right here. I know that is between 0 and negative 1, so I approximate that to be about, let's say, negative 0.4 comma 0. But again, I want the exact number. We found out that our equation is y equals negative 3x minus 1. I know that my y is always going to be 0 for my x-axis, so I'm going to substitute 0. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the inverse operations. Plus 1, plus 1, negative 1, plus 1 gives me a 0 pair. 0 plus 1 gives me 1, which is equal to negative 3x. At this point, I'll divide by the coefficient of negative 3. 1 divided by negative 3 gives me negative 1/3 equals x. So my x-intercept is negative 0.33 comma 0, or you could just write it as negative 1/3 comma 0. Now we got to talk about special cases. Notice that this is a vertical line. Vertical lines have a slope that is undefined. And the reason being, find 2 points, found this point, and I guess I'm going to use this one also. So this point here is 2 comma 0. This point here is 2, comma 3. Doesn't matter which one you label, so I'm going to do x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. Come over here, so that's 3 minus 0 divided by 2 minus 2. That gives me 3 over 0. When you divide by 0, it is undefined. So 3 divided by 0 is undefined, so that's why we get the undefined slope. However, since this is a vertical line, we can still write the equation of it as x equals 2 because it does cross the x-axis at 2. Lastly, horizontal lines. Similarly, they have a 0 slope. Reason being, if we pick any 2 points using the y-intercept and some other random point, this point here is 0, comma 3. This point here is 3, comma 3. Label them x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. So that's 3 minus 3 divided by 3 minus 0. 0 divided by 3 gives you 0. So that's why this is the 0 slope. But we can still write the equation of it though. The equation of this line would be y equals 3 because it crosses the y at 3. So y equals 3. That's the end of the video, the first lesson. Hopefully these get better over time. I apologize for the messiness of this video. I'm doing the best I can. Hopefully you guys are doing well as well. Please take care. Please leave a like and a subscribe. Comment below. Thank you for watching.